How you guys doing? Welcome to Crow City Podcast. With me, I have none other than Jesus Saves. SAVEM.
What up, what up? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good, man. Chilling.
Who is Jesus Saves?
Jesus Saves is a graffiti artist from the south side of Chicago, just trying to spread a positive message, just trying to keep the positive culture going, just trying to bring positivity into our culture. Graffiti has always been a negative connotation. There's always been a negative connotation to graffiti. People always think that it's associated with just negativity, with vandalism and all that. I'm just somebody trying to bring positivity into the game, and just show other people that graffiti is not just a negative thing, it's a positive thing too. For me, it's been a positive outlet,
What person or event put you in this path?
My friends, when I got into like 7th grade, were actually the ones who introduced me to actual graffiti. One of my boys, his older brother was a tagger already. He was just busting tags everywhere with his boys, with his crew. They had a little crew, and basically because of them, my boy kind of imitated his older brother, and he got me and a couple other friends to kind of just like start a crew with him, and he just started showing us like what graffiti was, like letters, bombing, like tagging on walls,
So you happened to accrue right away?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like immediately, because first we were just coming up with names, he's like, yo, we got to come up with our own names and stuff, so we all came up with names, and then after coming up with names, we seen that they had a crew, so we kind of came up with our own crew too,
What was the first name you came up with or you was writing?
It was a couple actually, so it was kind of funny, but I was writing Wreck, W-R-E-K, The first couple names, weren't serious at all. I was just playing around with letters, just trying to figure it out. Just having a identity in the beginning, So I wrote Wreck, I wrote MC, and it standard for Mad Criminal. And later on, I found out there was a whole crew called MC, But that was already way after I dropped the name and stuff, But I was in a crew. We started a little crew called ICU, Insane Criminals Unleashed, but it also standed for like ICU.
How long you was in that for?
Man, that didn't even last a year, Most of the homies in the next year, like the next summer, they all joined the gang. They all started gangbanging.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so me, the gang they joined, it was like the complete opposite of the gang that I grew up with. My family was in, my uncles, my dad, my cousins, they were all involved in the streets and the gang life, so already off top, I already knew like that wasn't gonna be my move,
And it wasn't like a serious crew type of shit, right?
The most we ever did was like outlines on the street with rustos that we stole from my boy's grandpa's garage,
Yeah.
Like that. We were literally in 7th grade, I was like 12, 13.
Did you guys got any hate for being an upcoming crew?
Definitely, yeah. They definitely labeled us as toys in the neighborhood, like there was another toy crew that we went at it with, so we were already at it, we were already at war. First year into it, I was involved in a war,
How do you develop the style that you're rocking right now?
I would say just throughout the years, I feel like I was trying to do traditional graffiti like everybody else, but with the message, writing Jesus Saves, I try to do more legible, like typographies, things that people are going to be able to see. So my style it always goes based on just like legibility, something you're going to be able to see. The medium that I love painting the most is freights, so those are always rolling canvases. So I would like for them to be legible so people could read it when it's going by, Not only that, it's a message, it's not just a name. So when I'm rocking like a SAVEM, you'll see the style change. You know, you'll see the style like get more traditional when it comes to graffiti. You know, like a little more wild. You know, I try to do a little bit more dope, like letters, traditional 3Ds, and like all that good stuff. You know,
Which one gets more love though from those two?
man, honestly, the love is reciprocated very well in both fields. You know, I feel like there's definitely a little separation.
Yeah.
You know, people definitely know that Jesus Saves is the message, you know, and then SAVEM's like the name. It's kind of like what I'd be throwing up when I'm bombing or when I'm doing like a spot that you can't really fit a whole Jesus Saves on, you know? So then I'll just do a Save 'em real quick, you know?
Does writing Jesus Saves gives you the same feeling as writing Save 'em?
I feel like when I'm rocking a Jesus Saves, there's definitely a lot more profound meaning to it, you know? I definitely walk away feeling a lot more satisfied.
Why Jesus Saves though?
Because it's the truth for me, you know? It's what I believe to be the truth, that message, you know, Jesus saves.
Were you always religious?
It's a little sticky, kind of.
Yeah.
So my grandfather's a pastor, you know? Well, he was, you know, he passed away already in 2018, but my grandfather was a pastor. He was a missionary. But then my dad and my uncle, they kind of rebelled real hard against the church, against my grandfather, you know, because they were raised bouncing around, you know, from country to country, literally going place to place. So they always had different people to meet, different cultures to have to adapt to, all of that, you know. So my dad and my uncle were real bad, you know. Wild. By the time my dad was 16 in Brazil, no, I'm sorry, this was in Bolivia. He got locked up with a kilo of coke, you know. And he did a whole year in prison out there. I think it's like a kilo a year out there. So he got locked up for a whole year. And when he got out, my grandfather sent him back over here with his aunts, you know. They were living in the south side of Chicago and in the hood, you know. So like when he was living with them, that's it. It was over with. He like got sucked into the streets, you know. He started gangbanging. He started serving, you know. When he was locked up for that kilo, they taught him how to re-rock. So when he came out here, he started selling crack and all that. You know what I'm saying? My dad was really wild. So when I was growing up, they always taught us, yeah, there's a God and, you know, Jesus is the son of God. And, you know, we went to church here and there. So we knew what's up. But at the same time, it was just mad wild in the house, you know, super broken home. My parents divorced when I was mad little. So, yeah, man, it was kind of crazy growing up. I don't like to say that I'm religious. You know, I don't believe in religion. You know, religion's man-made. I believe that God created us all to have a divine relationship with each and every one of us, you know, to walk with us. So I started walking with God when I was like 18 years old. That's the way I like to see it, you know. I finally found who God was, you know, in the most, I would say, through the most turmoil in my life, you know, when I was wilding the most, when I was just down bad, you know. You know, I came to a place where I just needed to surrender my life to God, you know, and that's what I did. And I just started to have a relationship with God. You know, I started walking with him, started to really know who he was and what he had for my life, you know. And graffiti was part of that plan, bro. It's crazy, you know. Because before, like, I was in a whole other crew. I was writing a whole other name even after this little chapter with the 7th graders and all that, you know. Like, after that, it got deeper, you know. Like, I joined the crew. I was writing a whole other name. And I found myself, like, mad lost, mad empty, you know. And when I found the Lord, he redeemed my talent, you know, that I had and my passion that I had for graffiti, and he used it for his glory, you know, and that's what I started writing Jesus Saves, you know.
What are some of the activities you do besides graffiti?
I got a family, bro. I got kids, you know, I got a wife and kids, so I spend a lot of time with my family, you know. Definitely number one to me. Like, I feel like I spend more time with my family than I do anything, you know what I'm saying?
How do you balance graffiti and family time?
It's definitely been a challenge, you know, but I feel like balance is the key. So once you find that balance, I feel like everything just kind of goes into place. But for me, it's just been a lot of sacrifice, you know what I'm saying? And just learning how to balance the time more than anything, you know, because you can't get back time. So I've always had to pretty much figure out what are good times for me to go, you know?
And that's the good thing, balance. Balance is really important, especially if you have a family or depending what lifestyle you have, it could really affect you in a major way. And a lot of people don't know that. Without balance, you can't really do graft that well.
I've had this conversation with my wife where I've told her, you know, like, it's people's lifestyles, you know, like some people have a different lifestyle. You know, there's people that ain't married, they ain't got no shorties, you know, they don't have a job. Some dudes are rich, you know what I'm saying? I've known a couple writers that grew up having it all, you know what I'm saying? Doing good, like their families are well off and they take really good care of them, you know, so they were the shorties growing up having Montanas all the time, you know what I'm saying? And like the really good fancy paint. And then you got other dudes that just grow up differently, you know, and or like when they're older, their lifestyle's different, like mine, you know, like I'm married, I got kids, I go to church, I'm a youth leader, I be serving the youth. Most of my life revolves around other things.
In your own words, can you describe to us what's graffiti?
It's just a form of expression, you know, everybody expresses themselves differently depending on their upbringing, you know, the way they grow up. So, or the way that it's introduced to their life, you know. I know some people that love the rush and the adrenaline rush of graffiti and they just go out and they bomb the highways or they do steel, you know, they'd be in the yards painting steel and they just love the whole game of cat and mouse. And like other people just like to paint at a freight yard, you know what I'm saying, where there's nobody bothering them at all and it's just them and their thoughts. Other people like to be painting in a public space where there's audiences watching them, you know what I'm saying? So however you want to express yourself, it's there.
Well, look, this is my favorite part of the podcast is when we get to read some questions from the audience. Would you like to answer some?
For sure.
This is the first question.
Hi, who taught you how to move?
Nobody really taught me like how to get up, how to go out and find spots and how to do any of that. You know what I'm saying? That came with just experience, with just being out there in the streets, you know?
Did you ever jump into a no graffiti page? And if yes, which one?
I would be lying if I didn't say I was one of those shorties that was always on 12 ounce, you know, that was always like on abc.com and stuff like that. You know, like those were the early websites that I got put on with. And it was like, it was pre-Instagram and all that, you know what I'm saying?
For those that don't know, what are those websites?
Yeah, those are just like blog sites, you know, that pretty much you and me or anybody could go on and upload photos, comment on photos, you know, comment back and forth to each other, chat with each other. Those websites were like the first kind of platforms that graffiti writers used from all over the world to upload all of their art, you know, all of their work, all of their spots, all of their graph, you know.
How did God bless your life?
Yeah, man, God has definitely blessed my life in many ways, man. First of all, he's blessed me with beautiful kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's blessed me with a beautiful family, you know. He's blessed me out here where I stay at in the hood. Like no matter what, no matter where I go, I'm always blessed, you know. It's not much to brag about or nothing, but coming from where I come from and the family that I come from, you know, the people around me, peers, nobody around me at my age has had what I've been able to obtain or what God has blessed me with, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not throughout my own hands, you know, it's him always being able to keep me from just a lot of bad scenarios, even death, bro. Like so many times I could tell you right now I would have been dead, you know.
Yo, how you came up with the character?
So I always knew I wanted to do a character because if you look at like 2012, 2013, Jesus Saves like Freights, you'll see I always had like a little Bodhi lizard character, something on the side, you know. I always try to incorporate to fill in that space, you know. I wanted to split the Jesus and the Saves. In the beginning, I used to rock it together like Jesus Saves all together, JESUSAVES. But then I'm like, man, I want to start doing like some end-to-ends, you know. And when you're looking at the boxcars, you see there's a door in the middle, you know. I'm like, man, I need to split the Jesus and the Saves, you know, put one on each side and then throw something in the middle. And I'm like, man, I always knew I wanted to do a character, but I just didn't really know what yet. And then I started doing that Bodhi lizard, put some wings on it, kind of turned it into an angel. And then from there, I'm like, man, it was like, I really want to do something original. You know what I'm saying? Something that nobody else is really kind of doing, or a character that nobody has. So the real reason that it came up with is because my homie D-Work, rest in peace, that passed away, his like anniversary was coming up and I wanted to do his character. You know, I'm like, man, I want to do him as a character, as an angel, like boom, you know, and I'll put him in the middle and I'll put a Jesus on the left and a Saves on the right, you know, and boom, that's how it literally came up. So I was sketching him out, I kept drawing it and it just wouldn't come out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that good at portraits yet, you know, I'm still working on that, but I just kept working on it and stuff. And then boom, I finally did it. Came out decent. Rocked it. And then I was like looking at it, it doesn't really look like D work, but it was still an angel, you know what I'm saying? I'll rock an angel, you know what I'm saying? Like that looked pretty dope. And then like it was kind of weird. If you look at those first couple ones, like, man, bro, they're whack, you know what I'm saying? Like the way the arms look, everything's just the lines that I was drawing, they were just too straight. They didn't really look like they belong where they are, you know what I'm saying? Like where your arms belong, where you are. And I'm still working on it, you know what I'm saying? I'm not even there yet. I feel like sometimes I finish an angel and I'm like, oh man, I should have made his arms a little bit smaller, or like his neck a little bigger, or his ears a little, you know what I'm saying?
Is your name an homage to the Trust Jesus Saves moniker of the 90s, Chicago, or the guy in New York?
Ooh, good question. So, yeah, no, I didn't hear about Trust Jesus till later on. And even aside from the moniker artist, I've heard of other Trust Jesus, or I think another writer that used to write Pray all the time. But I heard of old school Trust Jesus from Chicago that used to be like a homeless lady as well. And I found out that she used to like scribe everywhere, you know. But I heard she passed away already, so rest in peace to her. But yeah, no, I pretty much, you know, the way I came up with Jesus Saves was through my father's artwork, through his pieces, you know. Yeah, that's how the Jesus Saves really came about. It wasn't because of even the homie from New York. You know, I didn't hear about him till everybody started tagging me on his Instagram posts, you know, or my Instagram posts. Even just the other day, I had somebody from like another dope writer from New York tagged him on one of my pieces, and then like his response was like, yeah, that's the homie from Chicago. He's putting in mad work. Like, he's super dope. And just to see that, man, that makes me feel super happy and loved, you know.
What kind of backlash do you get from incorporating religion in street art?
Yeah, some people definitely think that I shouldn't be doing graffiti because a lot of people have a negative connotation on what graffiti is, right? So that's what I feel like God has called me to do, is kind of change that connotation and show people that it's not just a vandalism type thing. It's not just a negative thing. Like, graffiti is not just negative, you know. Graffiti is a very positive thing, especially where I'm from, you know. Graffiti kept me out of the gangs. Graffiti kept me from making a lot of bad moves that I should have made, you know, because of who I was around and how I grew up, you know. So for me, graffiti's always been a very positive thing, you know. It kept me on a positive note. So it's like, a lot of times people think, oh, you're doing graffiti, like you're just a vandal, you know. But it's like, nah, we're beyond vandals. We're artists, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's something that I feel like I try to teach other fellow writers too, because a lot of fellow writers, you know, especially here in Chicago, they are super vandalism, you know, and all they want to do is destroy. And it's like, that's only going to get you far. It's only going to get you so far, you know what I'm saying? Like you're either going to get locked up, get burnt out, get beat up, get shot, you know. Like, a lot of negative always comes with negative, you know what I'm saying? There's no way that you can overcome negative with negative, you know. The only way you could overcome negativity is with positivity, you know? So it's like a way for me to be able to just show the positive aspect of what graffiti is, you know? But yeah, I definitely get mockers and scoffers and people that be like laughing at what I write, you know? But then when they meet me, they really know what's up and they respect me, you know? Because I feel like I've never been a soft person, you know? Like, even to this day, like, sometimes I do put up walls, you know, like, that I try to break down and everything, but, you know, I still always put up those walls that I won't allow certain people in, you know what I'm saying? Because I know that they're mockers, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I really watch who I hang with. I really watch who I bring around.
What are some positive and negative situations you've been into?
On a positive note, like meeting the Styles last year for sure with the homie King 157, you know, like unforgettable, just rocking all week, killing it, just being able to chill with him, chill with everybody else, you know, like other writers, just to see everybody else in the city fan out on the homie, you know what I'm saying? And just develop that dope relationship, because that's a positive of what Instagram has to offer nowadays, you know, like being able to network and actually link up with homies and writers that you would have never have done otherwise, you know. The invitation was always open to him, you know, like I didn't tell him like, oh, hey, you need to come out here, but he was like, hey, I would love to go back out there. And I just told him like, yo, you know, if you ever want to come out here, my crib's open to you, you know, just holler. because we were already developing a relationship for a couple years, you know, talking for a minute. Through other mutual friends, like, we got connected and we kicked it off real good. He had some really good things to say, and like, you know, it was all love. So, you know, he was like, yo, I think I want to come out for meeting of styles. You still down to let me come through? And I was like, yeah, I'm down, you know, slide. And he came through, you know. So yeah, on the negative note, like, recently, right before, it was like right before Halloween, literally a few days to maybe a year ago, I was painting a P-wall by myself. I was in the hood, you know, I was over there by like, I was in the border of like 26th Street and Pilsen, you know, I was like on 19th. And I was painting a fence, and I'm just chilling. I had headphones in my ear too. That's where I was snoozing. And I was alone too. And I'm just painting, and like, I didn't even hear nothing because I had headphones in, you know, I'm listening to music and I'm just chilling. But next thing you know, I just seen like, I felt something hit me in the back, and then I looked to the side and I seen like, you know, paint splattering on the wall. And I'm like, I turn around to look, and next thing you know, I got hit in the eye with a paintball gun. You know, I was getting lit up by a paintball gun. These dudes thought it was funny to just roll up on me and just start shooting me up with a paintball gun while I was painting solo. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. And like, I caught it all on video, bro. Literally, I was filming myself painting. You know what I'm saying? I was catching a video of me just rocking this fence. And then next thing you know, like in the video, you hear it, you know, when they pull up and start airing me out with the paintball gun.
Holy shit.
Yeah, the worst part is, well, it's not too terrible because it could have been worse. And that's what I mean too by God's protection. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, bro, God's good. You know what I'm saying? Even though people always mean harm, God's always there, you know? Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, when I turned around to look and they shot me, it hit me right in the corner of my eye. And literally, like, if I would have turned any further or faster, it would have hit me dead in the eyeball. You know what I'm saying? And it would have been bad. I probably would have ruptured my eyeball. But yeah, it just hit me like right in the corner, and it pretty much split like all my skin, and I was just gushing blood out my eye, you know? It was reckless.
Did you end up finishing the piece or not?
I went a couple days after, you know, I had to go to I went to the urgent care, and I had to get glue stitches, bro. Yeah, they couldn't even stitch it because it was in the corner of my eye.
What's one of the biggest lessons you have learned?
Man, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is like, you can't get back time. You know what I'm saying? You can't like regret what you're gonna do and just go out and do it. You know what I'm saying? You can't be sitting there waiting for someone to like, for me in my case, I could have just been like, man, you know what? I'm gonna stop writing, you know, because I got a family, I got kids, I gotta work, I gotta, you know, pay my mortgage, you know, just conform to the ordinary societal lifestyle. Yeah. But instead, like, I just risk it, just be able to go for it, because there was something in me that was burning to want to go out and do it. You know what I'm saying? So just respond to that feeling in your gut, you know?
What's one advice you got for the future generation?
Man, learn your history and always just show love and respect, you know, wherever you move. Like, that's going to get you the furthest, you know? If you know your history and you just show love and respect, everybody's going to reciprocate that energy.
You think Instagram has negative influence on new writers popping out?
100%. Yeah. I feel like, you know, like, say you're a kid growing up nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. You're on Instagram, right? And then, like, say you already had an interest in graffiti because you've seen it in the street, but you don't know anybody that does graffiti. So all you got to do is go on Instagram and hashtag graffiti, you know? And then they just start looking up graffiti and start copying stuff. And that's why you got all these biters too nowadays with no original styles, you know what I'm saying? No original color schemes or nothing, you know? Everybody's just copying each other. It's crazy. It's hard to say because there's like a percentage of writers that literally become writers because they see it on their phone. And then there's other writers that get put on game. Those writers that get put on game, like I see, you know, them doing their thing, they're going to make it far. You know what I'm saying? Because they got people putting them on. But then you got other people that just come into this game not knowing anything, you know what I'm saying? And they just want to develop a letter structure and start rocking things. And then you just see them make a lot of mistakes. So, I mean, if you're going to be that person, make a lot of mistakes fast and grow from that, especially in a big city like this. I don't know how it is in other cities, but in Chicago, bro, you're bound to get run into. Someone's going to catch up with you for sure. So if you're that person.
Some of them don't even respect their name already being taken.
Exactly, bro. And that's what I mean by know your history. Like, if you're going to be rocking a name that somebody else has, and then you're going to start getting crossed out and stamped, how are you going to be crying about it, you know? You obviously don't know what you're doing.
What are some of the goals you got for the future or projects?
Some goals and projects, man, just keep rocking, you know, keep painting freights, continue to push my work so that I could legalize, so that I could rock P-walls everywhere. The dream is to be able to fly all over the world and paint everywhere for free, you know what I'm saying, and get paid to do it. So, yeah, bro, just work towards that every day, you know. If you want people to really like your work and like who you are, like, you got to just put in mad work. You got to make people want your work, you know.
Any shout outs you want to give?
Big shout out to my wife, you know. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even be writing Jesus Saves. I wouldn't even be here. You know what I'm saying? She gives me the most support. She pushes me and shows mad love. So big shout out to the wifey. I want to give a shout out to the war crew, you know. Those are my brothers, my warriors, you know. Always got to give them love, you know. Like, not a lot of people know, but the guy who created my crew, they were all tight-knit cousins and family, you know. They're pastors too, you know. They're faith-based brothers, you know. So there's a reason why I joined that crew. It wasn't just because I wanted to be part of a dope hitter crew, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they're dope and they were hitters back in the day and everything, but they're very family-oriented, and those are my brothers. So always a big shout-out to the homies, you know.
Right before we finish, do you have any quote or any phrase you go by that inspires you?
I don't really got a quote or anything like that, but I do got a biblical verse that speaks volumes to my life all the time, you know? And it's Romans 8:18. It says, "For I reckon that the afflictions of this present time aren't worthy to be manifested in us." Basically what it's saying is, like, all the hardships that you go through right now aren't worth comparing to the glory that's coming after, you know? So you're like, I'll go through that one more time. I'll go through that 3 more times. I don't care, you know, because you already know what's coming is even greater than what you have to go through.